morning and welcome to Money for Breakfast. I'm Alexis Glick. Coming up in a First on Fox interview, we're going to talk with Darren Jackson. He's the CEO of Advance Auto Parts about how the troubles at GM and Chrysler are impacting his business. It's actually pretty favorable. And the American Legion Auxiliary is doing its part once again to help veterans of America's armed services. We're going to tell you how much money it raises in its annual poppy sale in just moments. All right, well, let's get a quick look at the futures before we get things started. We've been in the green all morning. Thanks so much, Ashley. Well, along with the usual barbecues and parties, the yearly Memorial Day weekend tradition of poppy sales. You know these, you see them all the time. It's underway. Each year, the American Legion Auxiliary distributes millions of red crepe paper flowers in exchange for donations. But with many Americans out of work, getting people to give money for poppies is becoming a little bit tougher. Mary Buckler is the executive director of the American Legion Auxiliary National Headquarters, and Robert Corrigan is the New York County American Legion commander and a U.S. Marine Corps Vietnam War veteran. Good morning, guys. Wonderful to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Mary, I understand your nickname is Dubbie, so I'm going to call you Dubbie. First of all, explain to people National Poppy Week. What is the history behind the poppies?
It has a wonderful history. It goes back to World War I, the battlefield in Flanders, which is, of course, in France. And as people were dying, soldiers were dying on the battlefield, poppy seeds have a way of just staying underneath the ground, and when graves are dug, they germinate and sprout. And so over these newly dug graves, these beautiful red poppies were growing. And that so inspired people. It inspired Lieutenant Colonel McRae, who was a medical officer, to write the poem in the field of Flanders about the poppies in the field of Flanders. And then through a series of events, it became a tradition here in the United States and adopted by the American Legion Auxiliary, who organizes a program that results in annually about 5 million crepe paper poppies, all handmade by veterans, being distributed for donations.
So, Bob, tell me, what does this program mean to you and your fellow veterans? I know Nick and Ted are here with you as well. Explain to us what it means.
Well, it means a lot, primarily because it helps hospitalized and disabled veterans and their dependents. And it has raised so much money since, as Mary said, since the end of World War I. And it gives the veterans, in addition to a little bit of financial advantage or gain, it gives them the self-worth of accomplishing something by making these poppies and having them distributed to population. Especially
since many of them have been disabled or handicapped because of fighting in wars or being overseas. You know, there's so many of us, I mean, even my children know that when we go see the Memorial Day parade, wherever anybody is across the country, you know that you're buying a poppy at the Memorial Day parade. I was talking to an auto dealer the other day who said, Alexis, this is such an important day to remember, and we talk about, everybody's excited, it's the beginning of the summer, but there's so much more to it. What does this period mean to you, the recollection, the remembrance?
As far as the poppies, well, goes back to when I was a kid as well, buying poppies on every corner and knowing what the money was used for. It really meant a lot to me personally and to veterans in general. And anything we could do to help our fellow veterans, that's a primary goal.
Dubbie, you mentioned that 5 million are made and sold a year. Talk to me about the dollars raised and how much of an issue it is now, obviously, that we're in a recession, and what the loss of dollars could mean for you guys.
Well, annually the poppy sales generate about $2 million in donations. And I would stress that 100% of that $2 million is used entirely for the rehabilitation of veterans and to support their families, for our children and youth programs and our veteran service programs, 100% of the proceeds. So that $2 million goes directly into VA hospitals, to hospitalized veterans. It helps the veterans who make the poppies can receive a small stipend for making those to augment their fixed income, their disability income. So it's a wonderful program because all of the cost underwriting the program are paid by our dues-paying members. Our members belong to the American Legion Auxiliary, close to 900,000 members, and through the dues that they pay, they buy these poppy kits and are distributed, and the veterans make them, and then we in turn organize the selling and, the distribution for donations, and then make sure that the money goes for the intended purpose. So when you crunch those numbers out, it means that on average, the donation per poppy is about 45 cents. 5 million poppies generate about $2 million.
I think we need to work on that and make sure that everybody's getting a little bit more, Bob. But we're going to tell people today you better do it.
Well, here's the thought, because if people would just give $1,
it would
that
make
would be $5 million. If people would give $2, that would be, just look, that would be, you'd have 10, with 5, you'd have $25 million being raised. And what is the price of the service that a veteran has performed for our country?
Oh, absolutely. I could not agree with you more. Bob, before we wrap up here, it's Fleet Week here in New York. It's one of the best weeks to be here. We see all the soldiers and the Marine Corps, everybody walking around the streets. What's it like seeing all your friends, who you haven't seen in years? I mean, tell me about the experience.
Well, just this morning as I arrived at the studio outside here on 48th Street, there was a big yellow bus, and there was a bunch of Marines standing there on the sidewalk warming up their instruments. They're going to be performing over the next few days. Tomorrow evening they'll be at Central Park at 5 p.m. if anybody would like to attend the free concert. Monday they'll be performing at a ceremony up at the Soldiers and Sailors Monument at Riverside Park. But it was nice to see Marine. I was in the Marine Corps, and just to see them out there in their dress blue uniforms, it was quite exciting. And so it's an exciting weekend.
Well, you have done a wonderful thing for this country. Bob, thank you so much. Ted and Nick, wonderful having you guys in studio with us. And Dubbie, best of luck this weekend, and we'll make sure that we get people out there to make sure they give a little bit more money to such an important cause. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.
And be sure to tune in for a special America's Nightly Scoreboard tonight, Serving Our Country, a Scoreboard Salute. We'll look at men and women who made a difference in the world of business and sports after serving in the military.